at the InfoAg conference. I'm visiting with Ted Macy with MapShots. And Ted, you gave a presentation yesterday here that I think really struck a nerve with a lot of people with things you were talking about. Some of that had to do a little bit of talking about the fact that we're 20 years old with this. We've been doing this a long time. What were some of the takeaways that you wanted people to walk out of there with?
We spent quite a bit of time talking about data quality, and we're at a revolutionary point in being able to get a lot more data with a lot less hands-on work, but it's bringing out issues with what the quality of that data is. People that don't set up their monitors correctly, or monitors that don't clear information out correctly. And so I kind of reflected on, in the past year, the amount of man hours that we have had to put into making the data that we're getting better and even usable, rather than what would have typically been in the course of a year, a whole lot of new features and functionality and things. So we just kind of reflected back on the last year and what some of the challenges have been that it brought for us.
I think you also talked a little bit about the need to have more, standards kind of maybe, to make it easier especially for the customers out there.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Actually, I took kind of the opposite approach in that I'm not hung up about the lack of standards and things that a lot of people talk about. In general, once a group does a new standard, because we have all of this legacy equipment and things that are not going to implement that standard just becomes yet one more format that we have to be able to support. So instead of supporting 15 formats, now we support 16. What we need, though, are people that are cooperative. So if there are people that are willing to work together for a standard, then they've already passed the hurdle of saying we're willing to share our data, we're willing to work with other companies and things on it, and at that point, typically, we can work with individual companies and make things happen a lot faster in total than getting that same group of people in a room and coming up with some common format that everybody can agree to. It's more about the company's position on access to their data than it is about data standardization.
Now, here at your exhibit, talking with these attendees, what is it that you're showcasing for them? It looks like you've got your AgStudio up and running, and I think you also mentioned that you're kind of moving to that basically being the new platform for your customers overall, or?
So AgStudio is still our flagship product. The desktop version of AgStudio is our flagship product, and we're really the attendees appear to be most interested in our integration with GeoVantage for aerial imagery and what kind of tools we have for being able to help make that happen. They're also very interested in what are the automated data sources. Do we work with John Deere? Do we work with Trimble? Do we work with Precision Planting? Those seem to be the primary areas of focus. It seems like the people pretty much have the soil testing and fertility and everything kind of under their belt, and they're starting to look into some of these newer data sources.
Now, I know that yesterday we started out with a presentation on the kind of like a history of the InfoAg conference,
yes,
celebrating 20 years. You were involved from the start of that. Can you make a couple comments about how you've seen this evolve and how MapShots in your business has evolved along with that time period?
We've been lockstep with InfoAg. I've attended, not only have attended every conference, but I've actually done a presentation at every conference in those last 20 years. And we saw it at 300 to 500 people when it first started, and there was a lot of interest, and it was an every other year conference up until recently. And then we kind of saw it go down for a little while, and then guidance became available and it started picking back up, and then the ag economy became better, and it started picking back up. And then really 2 years ago was kind of a watershed conference where the attendance just drastically exceeded everybody's expectations, and we had a lot of practitioners, and this has become the premier showcase for, if you want to learn about what your options are in precision ag, you come here. In the early days of the conference, the presentations there were a lot more academic presentations, and they kind of tried to move away from the vendor presentations. But every vendor room kept getting packed, and they've now realized that people really want to come and see more about the vendor stuff and what options are available, and they've made that a mainstream, and it's really made it a fantastic conference.
Outgrowing this facility in St. Louis.
Yes.
We had a futurist here at the beginning who was talking about some of his ideas and where things might go or look in the ag sector, especially the precision area. How about with MapShots? You want to peer into the crystal ball and tell us anything, or?
No, I don't. 25 years ago when I started this,
yes,
I had a vision that we would get to where we are today. And I've got some ideas about what might happen down the road, but I just really haven't been very focused on it. I want to get to where we are today to work seamless.
Yeah, I probably should have asked it that way, that when you started this, did your future vision come about, or is it been somewhat different than you might?
No, this is where we are right now. Is when I would speak 20 years ago at the first InfoAg conference, I laid out what I hoped where we would be, and with the wireless data transfer and some new sensors coming along, we hands-off record keeping. That was the goal when I left the farm, and I thought it would take 5 years to make it happen. Okay, so it's taken 25 years to make it happen, but
you've been persistent, and that's probably what you have to be in order to be successful in business today. So not a lot of people understand that. So Ted, it's been great. I've been to your customer conference. You've got a great staff, and obviously people who love your product that are here. I was interested to see you entertaining a whole group of John Deere leaders that happened to walk in, So there is a lot of interest in MapShots and your AgStudio product. Well, we're here at the InfoAg conference visiting with MapShots and Ted Macy. I'm Chuck Zimmerman reporting.